When I was working, the sexy Jane entered my office and said that the network in her office was being repaired. Could she sit here for a while? I said, sure. You can even sit on my face if you want. When I said those words, Kane was stunned. And so was I. This was what was on my mind. I didn't know why I blurted out what was in my heart. Jane's face flushed instantly. The assistant beside her quickly rushed out of the door and shouted for Felix to come. I wanted to stop her. But it was too late. Felix stormed into the office and asked me what I meant. With a crying face, I said, Jane is so sexy and voluptuous. How can you, a skinny dog, satisfy her? As soon as those words came out, I wished I could slap myself. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just couldn't control myself and kept blurting out what was on my mind. Felix was so angry that he grabbed my hair and said to me through gritted teeth, if Axel wasn't coming soon, I would definitely deal with you now. Handle Axel's matter first. Then I'll settle scores with you. As soon as Felix said that, my head immediately started to ache. I am a lawyer. Axel is a big case I am in charge of. After he got rich, he abandoned his wife who had shared his hardships and found a young and beautiful vixen. Now he has transferred his assets and wants his wife to get nothing after divorce. I have been in charge of this case all along, and I have done a good job. Under my various offensives, the original wife finally agreed to a private settlement. The original goal for today was to let her take 100 Zara yuan and leave. Soon Axel came. He was hugging a young girl. As soon as he saw me, he smiled and extended his hand to me. Nice to see you again. I forced a smile. You are happy too early. Axel looked at me in confusion. Then he laughed heartily and patted my shoulder. I like your cautious attitude. You are a good lawyer. I sat on the chair with tears welling up in my eyes. After Axel's original wife came, she sat dejectedly opposite us. This woman had given everything for Axel. But in the end, she could only get 100 yuan. I silently prayed in my heart, hoping that she would quickly sign and take the money and leave. But things were not as beautiful as I had imagined. The original wife was holding a pen and asked me a little reluctantly, is this really all the property he can give me? Axel was full of pride. But I clenched my fist and still couldn't hold back what was on my mind. There are 4 million in cash hidden under the floor of your hometown. In an instant, the smile on Axel's face froze. Felix also stared at me in a daze. I knew very well that I was going to lose my job. The original wife was so excited that her body trembled. But Axel was so angry that his body trembled. He punched me hard in the face. I was knocked to the ground. Axel pointed at my nose and cursed loudly. What kind of crappy lawyer are you? Wait for me. I will definitely find someone to deal with you. I covered my face. There was only horror in my heart. There were too many things that scared me. I didn't understand what was happening to my body. And I was definitely going to lose my job. Moreover, as far as I know, Axel has a large number of illiterate people who are not afraid of going to jail for money. Felix obviously didn't plan to protect me anymore. After Axel got up angrily and left, Felix just glanced at me and said, pack your things and leave by yourself. Don't die at the door of my law firm. Horror spread in my heart. I didn't care about packing up and quickly ran downstairs. Lawyers are people who use the law as a weapon. So lawyers are most afraid of trash people who don't care about the law. They are not worried about being in debt and are not afraid of going to jail. Their lives are already empty. The law is a weapon that forces a 1-for-1 exchange. But it is not an equal weapon. Especially those energetic young men. Going to the detention center is like going home for them. I don't want to get involved with such people. I hurried home. But as soon as I got into the car, I noticed that there seemed to be 2 motorcycles following me. I was so anxious that I stepped on the gas. As soon as I got downstairs at home, I quickly got out of the car and ran upstairs quickly. In the chaos, I heard someone shouting angrily behind me to stop. I looked back and saw several hooligans who clearly had no future in life chasing after me. How dare I stop? I opened the door breathlessly and quickly closed it. My girlfriend was at home. When she saw me coming back so soon, she said in confusion, "Why are you off work so early?" As soon as I saw my home, I felt something was wrong. Because the home was beautifully decorated. There were even many petals laid on the ground and some balloons were pasted. Especially on the coffee table. There was a pair of couple rings. They just hadn't been wrapped yet. My girlfriend looked at me a little embarrassed. She whispered to me, "Today is your birthday. I was originally going to give you a surprise. Since you have found out, there is nothing to hide." She came bouncing in front of me and said with a smile, "Will you marry me? You can't lie." I stared at her blankly. I couldn't control what was on my mind anymore and it came out of my mouth. "I don't want to." "And what do you mean by I can't lie? What does this sentence mean?" My girlfriend immediately pouted. "Why don't you want to marry me? Don't you love me?" I said. "I love my Jane." My girlfriend opened her eyes wide and stared at me blankly. "Why? Where am I not as good as that 30-year-old old woman?" I was about to cry. "Because Jane is beautiful. Has a good figure and a very gentle personality. But you only use my credit card. You earn 3.0 yuan a month. But you always use my card to buy 30.0 yuan bags. You always want me to buy you a Mercedes. Don't you look at yourself in the mirror?" My girlfriend's face flushed red. "Since you love your Jane so much, then why are you still with me?" "Because every time I want to break up with you, you threaten me with suicide. You either take sleeping pills or threaten to jump off a building. You stinky bitch who brings me endless pressure. Quickly explain to me. What do you mean by I can't lie? What did you do to me?" I anxiously grabbed my girlfriend's shoulder, but she angrily raised her hand and slapped me hard in the face. After she lost her temper, she directly wanted to rush out. I quickly shouted, "No," to her. But it was too late. At the moment the door lock was opened, someone immediately kicked the door open from outside. My girlfriend screamed in fright. Several hooligans walked into the room. One of the yellow-haired hooligans came to me. Before I could react, he grabbed my hair. I anxiously punched him in the face. He was hit. But then, I saw him take out a small knife from his pocket and stab it hard into my thigh. I was in so much pain that my whole body twitched. I covered my thigh and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, my girlfriend was so shocked that her face lost color. I weakly said to her, "Call the police quickly." This hooligan glanced at my girlfriend. "Don't meddle. We won't touch you." My girlfriend took a few deep breaths and slowly calmed down. She glanced at me and suddenly sneered. "Don't you love your Jane? Why don't you let her call the police for you?" After saying that, she angrily turned and left. I shouted at her in despair. "I have spent at least 200.0 yuan on you." My girlfriend said angrily. "That's my compensation for youth loss." I wanted to say that the law doesn't advocate compensation for youth loss. But these hooligans had already tied me up. They took my car key and threw me directly into the back seat of the car like an animal. When the car started moving, I nervously said, "Big brothers, calm down. You will go to jail for doing such things. Now take me to the hospital. I can choose not to call the police." After hearing this, the little yellow-haired guy said nonchalantly, "What's there to be afraid of going to jail? Only after going to jail can one become a big brother. When I get out of jail, everyone will be willing to follow me." This is the kind of person lawyers are most afraid of. Their minds are not mature yet. After dropping out of vocational high school, all they have in mind is fooling around and loyalty. These people are causing trouble for society every day they live. The problem is that they still think they're living a very chic life. When a scholar meets a soldier, it's impossible to reason. This is exactly my situation now. I anxiously said, "Did Axel send you?" Explain to him. "I just had a sudden situation today. When I get better later, I will definitely continue to help him fight the lawsuit. Just as I was begging for mercy, the car suddenly braked hard. I directly hit the front passenger seat from the back seat. Looking dazed, I saw a Porsche blocking our way. A plump and sexy beauty got out of the Porsche, wearing sunglasses and a hot stepmother dress. Isn't it my Jane? Thank goodness. She actually came to save me. Jane came to the car. She knocked on the car window. After the car window was rolled down, she took out several hundred yuan from her wallet and threw it to the driver. The driver frowned and asked, "What do you mean? Who are you trying to with such a little money?" Jane said, "I'm not here to save him. I just need a few minutes to talk to him alone." These hooligans looked at each other. In the end, they all got out of the car. Before getting out of the car, they also took out the car key. Jane opened the door and sat beside me. She stared at me suspiciously and said, "You are a bit strange today. What's wrong with you?" I couldn't hide it. "Honestly," I said, "I don't know why either. Today I just can't hide what's on my mind." She looked at me in surprise. Then she tentatively asked me, "Have you done anything wrong to me?" With a mournful face, I said, "Yes. I secretly took pictures of your thigh when you were taking a nap before. My phone password is my birthday. You can take it as evidence to accuse me of secretly taking pictures, and make me lose my reputation and be detained." Jane took out my phone, and looked at it. Then her little face flushed red and she snorted. "So you are a refined scoundrel. I just saw that you were strange today. So I want to ask you, does my husband cheat on me?" I said a grieved lie. "Can you not ask? I will be killed. Quickly say it. Your husband has an affair with his secretary. And our new female lawyer has also been sexually harassed by your husband. The company now often refers guests to other law firms. That new law firm is under the name of one of your husband's lovers." Jane nodded in satisfaction. She recorded it one by one. Then she asked, "How should I search for evidence? Can I secretly take pictures in the office?" I said, "Secretly taking pictures can't be used as evidence because it's illegal. Evidence collection should be done by legitimate means. You can break in on Monday and Wednesday afternoons and catch them in the act on the spot." Jane sneered. "So the whole law firm has been hiding it from me. You are really good dogs of the capitalists." I cried and said, "I have told you so much now. Felix won't let me go. He knows many people in both the underworld and the legitimate world." Jane poked my head and said with a smile, "What does your death have to do with me? You are not a good person either. I've asked all I want. Wait for your death." She opened the car door and left. As I watched the only savior leave, those hooligans came back again. I was completely hopeless. They drove me to an abandoned garbage dump outside the city. When I was dragged out of the car like a dead dog, Axel was already waiting for me here. Axel bit on a cigarette and sneered. "You are amazing. You cost me millions." I said, "Axel, I didn't mean it." He waved his hand and said, "Whether you meant it or not doesn't matter anymore. I will beat you up today, and then send you abroad. I have a factory there. You just wait to work as a laborer for the rest of your life. I used to appreciate you quite a bit and even wanted to invite you to be my legal advisor. Unfortunately, I can't forgive people who are sorry to me even once." I tried desperately to restrain myself, but my mouth was out of control and I still said, "Axel, I am sorry to you 3 times." He was stunned, and so were the others present. He asked, "What else are you sorry for me for?" I said, "In fact, I have been cooperating with the police all along. When you were transferring assets, you were suspected of a large amount of tax evasion and smuggling. I have already given the evidence to the police." The expression on Axel's face became uglier and uglier. He said, "Don't scare me. I know that lawyers can't expose their clients. They should put the interests of their clients first. You are violating lawyers' professional ethics." I said, "Lawyers do have professional ethics. but except for crimes endangering national security and public safety. Axel was anxious. He grabbed my collar and shouted at me. "Why did you do this?" I said. "Because our Felix has done a lot of illegal things for you, including destroying criminal evidence. I want to send our Felix to prison. I am in love with my Jane." "Damn it." Axel punched me in the face again. I fell to the ground, covering my face. I broke down and said, "Please, don't kill me." He said coldly, "It's too late. Kill him. Prepare a boat to go abroad immediately." That eager to make a name for himself yellow-haired guy hurriedly picked up a steel pipe and hit me hard on the back. I let out a heart-nicking scream. I was beaten and lay on the ground. My mouth was quickly stuffed with a rag. He raised the steel pipe and hit my back hard again. Now I couldn't even make a sound. I was really like a dying dog, on the verge of death. I couldn't count how many times I had been hit. I only felt so much pain that my head was dizzy. Everything around me seemed to be spinning. When Axel thought it was almost enough, he said to the yellow-haired guy, "You kill him, then drive to the dock. You know I have a way to send you abroad. After you go out there, I have a bar for you to watch over. You will be the big brother." The yellow-haired guy nodded excitedly and asked, "Can I come back? I want my brothers to know that I am awesome." Axel said, "Of course you can't come back. When you get there, there will be plenty of women and money." The yellow-haired guy was a little disappointed and let out an "oh." Then he dragged me into the car. Axel suddenly said, "Stab him in the stomach first. I'm afraid you won't dare to do it later." The yellow-haired guy was anxious. "What am I afraid of?" He pulled out the knife on my thigh, and then directly stabbed it into my stomach. I twitched all over in pain. But because my mouth was stuffed, I couldn't make a sound no matter what. Axel nodded in satisfaction and said, "Okay. Get it done quickly." After he finished speaking, he took those subordinates and drove away first. When this yellow-haired guy saw them go far away, he pulled out the knife again and aimed it at my chest. When I saw his action, I couldn't help crying. He asked me, "What are you crying for? A real man doesn't shed tears when bleeding. In the next life, you will be a hero again." I still couldn't help crying, so he pulled out the rag from my mouth. I cried and said, "This is not what I thought." "What did you think it would be?" I originally thought that Axel would be caught by the police before the divorce. In this way, his original wife could get the due property, and my Felix would also be caught. In this way, I could pursue Jane. Don't pretend to be a good person here. If you were really a good person, how could you abandon Lucia and fall in love with another woman? My Lucia only keeps spending my money. Whenever I want to break up, she threatens me with suicide. The first time I mentioned breaking up with her, she took more than a dozen sleeping pills. It was me who sent her to the hospital. The yellow-haired guy thought for a while. Finally, he said, "Actually, don't be nervous. Jane doesn't hate you. Don't believe me? Look at this knife." Before he finished speaking, a terrifying thing happened. A short knife suddenly stabbed into his neck. It pierced from the left side of his neck and came out from the right side. The yellow-haired guy twitched all over and fell softly on me. I was completely stunned. At this time, Axel appeared beside him and sneered, "This knife is strange. Do you really think I can't see it?" Axel picked up the knife in the yellow-haired guy's hand and poked it with his finger. I saw that the knife retracted into the handle, but it didn't retract completely. Instead, a small part was left outside. Axel said coldly, "A knife that stabbed your leg was real. The knife that stabbed your stomach was fake. It didn't even pierce your belly." I saw that this guy was problematic a long time ago, so I deliberately made a U-turn. He pulled out the short knife from the yellow-haired guy's neck and was about to stab me again. I was immediately anxious, ignoring the pain in my leg. I quickly used my hands and feet to push up the yellow-haired guy's body and bumped into Axel. Axel kept crossing over the body and trying to stab the short knife at me. and I could only use the yellow-haired guy's body as a shield. The situation became more and more tense. I watched as the short knife got closer and closer to me. A suffocating horror spread in my heart. Just at this moment, a sudden engine sound rang out. I looked back and saw that Jane's Porsche was coming towards her at high speed. Immediately, I didn't care about anything else. I quickly opened the car door behind me. Originally, my back was leaning against the car door. As the car door was unlocked, I fell to the ground and was flat on my back. Axel also fell on the yellow-haired guy's body because of the sudden inertia. I quickly got up and ran towards that Porsche. When the Porsche was about to hit me, it slowed down. The car window also opened. Jane was sitting in the car and shouted at me, "Get in quickly." I hurriedly threw myself into the car window. Only half of my body had entered. Jane quickly stepped on the accelerator. I grabbed the passenger seat with both hands and tried hard to crawl into the car. Finally, I sat in. Jane looked out in horror. She said with a pale face, "They really dared to kill." I couldn't care about anything else. I grabbed Jane's face with both hands and said excitedly, "Jane, you came to save me. I love you so much." I couldn't restrain my inner love and kissed Jane's hot lips. She quickly turned her head aside and said anxiously, "Are you crazy?" I cried and said, "I almost died. I love you so much." I kept kissing Jane. Of course, I knew it was inappropriate at this time, but I didn't know what was wrong with me. Originally, I just couldn't restrain myself from speaking. Now I can't even restrain my actions. Jane held the steering wheel tightly and cursed angrily. "Let go of me quickly." Fortunately, I also felt in my heart that I couldn't do this. Finally, I obediently sat in the passenger seat and said excitedly, "Jane, I really love you very much. I am willing to do anything for you, if I can survive. I don't mind that you are divorced. I want to marry you." Jane suddenly reached out and slapped me hard while driving. "Snap out of it. It's a mess. I am more dangerous than you now. My husband is sending people to block me. His phone can check the location of my car." I was stunned. So Jane was also being blocked? Just at this moment, Jane suddenly stepped on the brake. It turned out that right in front of us, 2 cars had already blocked the way. Felix got out of one of the cars. He brought a few people and looked at us coldly. Behind us, Axel had already driven my car and was chasing us. Jane was anxious. She suddenly turned the steering wheel and said angrily, "These people are too bullying. I will fight them." I said, "Don't do stupid things. Your Porsche 718 has a full load of 1.5 tons. My BYD Tang has a full load of 2.5 tons. Isn't it like tofu hitting a rock if we crash into them?" Jane was anxious. "Then what should we do?" I quickly looked at both sides. On our right was farmland, looking endless. It was not easy to hide. Jane was a girl. She would definitely be caught up soon if she couldn't run far. And on our left was a river. There was a very narrow passage by the river leading to the water level observation hut. But the door of the hut was locked tightly and the windows had burglar bars. I quickly said to Jane, "Get out of the car. I have a way to save you." I pulled her and got out of the car together and ran towards the hut. Although I was limping, fortunately, this hut was not far away. Soon we arrived at the door. Jane said excitedly, "We can't get in." I said, "Jane, I will definitely protect you." I picked up Jane in my arms and felt the softness and warmth of her body. Excitedly, I said, "Jane, I have dreamed of holding you like this once. Whenever I close my eyes, my dreams are full of you." She was so anxious that she punched me in the chest. At this time, "What are you talking about?" I couldn't restrain the throbbing in my heart and kissed her lips hard again. I murmured, "I'm afraid that if I die, I won't have a chance to tell you how much I love you." I held Jane's buttocks with one hand and pushed her up to the hut. She grabbed the roof of the hut with both hands and tried hard to climb up. I quickly said, "Jane, You can step on my shoulder. She stepped on my shoulder with her high heels and finally climbed onto the roof of the hut. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief and said, "Call the police quickly. No matter which one of them wants to climb up next. You kick his fingers hard with your high heels and make him fall down. They can't hurt you." I turned around and faced Felix and Axel. Panting, I said, "As long as I am here, none of you can hurt her." Felix frowned tightly. "Are you crazy? You protect my wife in front of me?" I said, "You don't deserve to call her your wife. I know how many things you have done in the law firm these years. You not only have a relationship with your secretary and female lawyers, but you even maintain improper relationships with female clients. You also use your expertise to transfer a lot of assets." Felix said coldly, "Do you think this woman needs your protection? She has many means. She has long arranged people around Axel to investigate us and wants to send me to prison." I said, "This is what you deserve." Felix frowned and said, "Why are you so infatuated with beauty?" "I'm not for beauty." "Then what are you for?" I panted and said, "When I first started as a lawyer, I always lost lawsuits and had no future. My Lucia scolded me for being useless. She secretly went on blind dates behind my back and flirted with other men. At that time, I felt as if I was abandoned by the whole world. It was Jane who often encouraged me, gave me many small cases to practice on, and asked seniors to take me under their wing. I will never forget Jane's kindness. Now I am a successful lawyer. My girlfriend suddenly changed her mind and came back to me. She spends my money every day, uses my card, and threatens me with her lost youth. But in my heart, there is only Jane's gentleness. I don't understand. Now that your deeds have been exposed, going to turn yourself in is the best choice. Why are you still blocking us here?" Felix said coldly. "Because no one has called the police." I was stunned. "What do you mean no one has called the police?" "I have already given the evidence to the police." Felix shook his head and said, "When you gave the evidence to the courier, I arranged for someone to steal the courier on the way." I said blankly, "How do you know I gave the evidence to the courier?" "You underestimated your Lucia's materialism. Last time you brought your girlfriend to the annual meeting. Secretly, she hooked up with a partner of another law firm. That partner happens to be my buddy. Your girlfriend told him everything about you at home." I was stunned. "My girlfriend has been secretly playing with partners of other law firms?" "Yes. You are just a small lawyer who gets a salary. What can you compare with a partner? He also got your girlfriend pregnant and asked your girlfriend to marry you quickly so that you can take over." Felix came towards me with people. He sneered and said, "Your evidence has not been given to the police at all. As long as we silence you today, no one will know. You like my wife very much, right? Okay. I will bury you two together." Jane was anxious. She quickly shook her phone. "Don't mess around." "I will call the police now," Felix said. "If you wanted to call the police, you would have done it long ago. Your phone can't be used at all." Jane's face suddenly became not so good-looking. I quickly asked Jane what was wrong. She whispered, "As soon as my phone is turned on, there will be calls coming in and hanging up continuously. There will be a call coming in every second on average. So I can't use it normally at all." I said anxiously, "This is a call you to death, illegal malicious software." "Jane, don't worry. I will protect you." Axel cursed loudly. "Protect your ass. I will run you over right now." He started my car, aimed the car at me, and drove slowly. I was completely hopeless because this road was just right for my car to pass. That is to say, I could only watch Axel run over me with the car and there was no way to avoid it. If I knew martial arts, I could jump onto the roof of the car and gently tap it with my toes to get on the roof. But the problem is that I don't know martial arts, and I can't do such a difficult move. Seeing the car getting closer and closer to me, my heart was beating extremely fast. Jane also lay down and stretched out her hand. She said anxiously, "Quickly grab my hand. I'll pull you up. I still couldn't hide what was on my mind and shouted at Jane. Jane, you can't pull me up. And your cleavage is so deep. Jane was so shocked that she quickly covered her collar and said angrily. At this time, what are you thinking about? I broke down and said. I don't want to say it at all. Just at this moment, an accident happened. With a loud bang, the road actually started to shake and collapse. Originally, this small passage was only for leading to the water level observation hut and couldn't bear a vehicle of 2.5 tons at all. Axel originally wanted to run over me with the car. As a result, now he fell down together with the car. With another loud bang, half of my car that I bought on a 24 installment loan fell into the river. But Axel was fine. He quickly climbed out of the car and cursed angrily. What a crappy road. It scared me to death. I stared blankly at the collapsed small broken bridge in front of me. The good news is that they can't catch up with us anymore. And the bad news is that we can't get out either. Axel cursed angrily. Okay. You are lucky. Let's see who outlasts who. No one will come to this place. You have nothing to eat or drink here. I'll starve you to death. Felix said coldly. No. The longer it is dragged on, the more likely problems will occur. Go buy a case of beer and bring a few bottles of alcohol. We'll make Molotov cocktails and burn this pair of dogs to death. Jane cursed angrily. You are also worthy of calling us dogs. I haven't found a single man all these years. How many women have you found behind my back? Shameless. Felix's face flushed red and said. Dare you swear that you really haven't found anyone? You wear such short skirts all day. Who knows if you have seduced men outside? Jane said. I dare to swear by my mother's life. Do you dare? Felix knew he was in the wrong and immediately couldn't say anything. He just said impatiently to the people beside him. Hurry up and do it. Others don't be idle either. Throw stones at them. It's okay to kill them. As soon as I heard this, I was anxious. I quickly endured the pain and jumped hard. Finally, I grabbed the roof. Then I climbed up with difficulty and finally climbed up. At this time, someone had already started throwing stones at us. I quickly protected Jane and said anxiously. Don't be afraid. Jane. I will protect you. Jane shrank in my arms. Her eyes were moist and she cried and said. What are you doing? Why do you keep protecting me? I said. Because I love you. I really don't mind that you are divorced. She cried and said. I have more than 20 million. Do I need to be afraid of being disliked by others? Now you make me feel very guilty towards you. I don't love you. I'm not worth you sacrificing so much. I flushed red and said. Knowing that you have more than 20 million. I love you even more. I originally thought you only had a few million. Do you love me or my money? I love both. But I love you more. You know I can't hold back what's on my mind. I can't lie to you. Once again, I couldn't restrain the throbbing in my heart. I held Jane's little face and kissed her. This time, Jane didn't resist me. She just remained motionless and let me kiss her. A few stones hit my back. I twitched slightly in pain. Jane whispered. Does it hurt? I said. It doesn't hurt. It's like a dream now. I kiss you in my dreams every day. Don't talk. What you say is really disgusting. I don't want to say it either. But I can't control it. I pulled Jane and lay down on the ground. Let us stick close to the eaves. In this way, the stones will hit the eaves and not hit us. I looked at Jane face to face. She was so beautiful. With a star face and such a top-notch figure. And she had more than 20 million. I couldn't believe it. Such a beautiful woman entrusted her life to me at this time. Jane still looked down from time to time. When she saw me looking at her infatuated lie, she said anxiously. Can you focus on the important things first? I asked. Jane, do you like me? She said. I didn't have any special feelings before. At the beginning today, I was very disgusted with you and wished you would die. Later, I found out that you really love me. Then I felt better. And then you did so much for me. I really have some good feelings for you. I said stupidly. Then it's really worth it for me to die. Don't talk nonsense. We will really die later. I see that they have already brought back beer and alcohol. I quickly secretly looked down. These people were indeed unpacking a case of beer and pouring out the liquor. When they made Molotov cocktails and threw them up, the beer bottles would break and the alcohol splashing everywhere would spill on us and make Jane and me die in a sea of fire. I got up and looked at the other side of the hut roof. Below was the river. There was no way to walk. But there was a window below. Although there was also a burglar bar. I quickly said, "Jane, come here quickly." She carefully crawled to my side. And I hugged her. She exclaimed. I had already carried her outside the roof and said to her, "There is a burglar bar below. Be careful. Don't step on the railing. I'm afraid it's not firm. Step on the windowsill." Jane said nervously. "I'm afraid." I said, "Don't be afraid. No matter what. I will hold you tightly. I will definitely protect you." Jane was so scared that she hugged me tightly and carefully put her leg down to test. Finally, she stepped on the windowsill and cried and said to me, "You must not let go." Looking at her crying like pear blossoms with rain, I couldn't help feeling distressed. I said blankly, "Jane, I really want to kiss you." She cried and said, "As long as you don't let go." I kissed Jane again. She responded to my kiss while crying and whispered, "I have never done such a romantic and frightening thing. It feels like making a movie." I only felt my heart beating faster and faster. I pressed close to her forehead and said softly, "I like you so much. Maybe I am a very bad person. But I will definitely not let anything happen to you. Everything I have done these years is to protect you." Just at this moment, there was a sudden bang behind me. I turned my head and saw that a Molotov cocktail had already been thrown up. The flames spread in all directions. Before I could see the situation clearly, another Molotov cocktail was thrown up and it hit my back exactly. Immediately, my back was on fire. Jane was so scared that she screamed, while I held her with one hand and took off my clothes with the other hand in horror. Jane cried and said, "This is too dangerous for you." I looked at the sky and whispered, "It's okay. It will be dark soon." "Can you swim?" she said. "I can. After it gets dark, I will throw you down. You go downstream along the water. There is a fork below. You swim towards the left. It will be separated from the highway by a river and a mountain road in between. No matter how they drive, they can't catch up with you." Suddenly, another beer bottle hit beside me. The flames were burning. I endured the pain and moved to the side with difficulty. Jane suddenly cried and said, "It's truth serum." I asked, "What thing?" "Your Lucia must have used truth serum on you. After using this, you will become emotionally agitated and can't control your words and actions. She wanted to propose to you today precisely to make you unable to lie. She pressed step by step and forced you to marry her." I sighed and said, "I remember now. The coffee I brought with me today was brewed by her." I was still wondering why she would suddenly be so kind as to brew coffee for me. She has never done anything for me before. Jane cried again and said, "There is one thing I need to apologize to you." "What thing?" "You said that when you were most frustrated, I was always encouraging you." "I don't remember this at all. That's my law firm. Of course, I have to encourage every new employee. My gentleness towards you is not special at all." I shook my head, looked at her beautiful face, and suddenly smiled. I said softly, "It doesn't matter. The gentleness you casually sprinkled can already heal my whole life." Some alcohol spilled on me. I didn't dare to let go of Jane. I could only hold her tightly with one hand and gently pat off the alcohol with the other hand. Because the more chaotic it is at this time, the more likely problems will occur. In the blink of an eye, I was already covered in wounds. There was no sun in the sky anymore. Everything was getting darker and darker. I knew that after some time, I could let Jane go down. Jane said anxiously. You are all covered in blood. I shook my head and said seriously to her. Jane, remember. Later, they may drive to the bottom to block you. But don't worry. The river gets wider and wider as it goes down. You swim in the direction of the front left. They simply won't have time to catch up with you. Jane said. Come with me. I shook my head. I knew that I couldn't get away. I couldn't swim at all. Originally. My body was in great pain. But when I was injured more, maybe my body activated a protection mechanism. Maybe the adrenaline started to surge. I didn't feel so much pain anymore. I looked at Jane and couldn't help but smile. Jane asked. At this time, what are you smiling about? I said. Jane. I dare to bet with you that I must be deeply engraved in your life. She stared at me blankly. The sky was already dark. I lowered my head and kissed her unrestrained lie. This time, she responded to me passionately. I couldn't imagine that my beloved woman would be kissing me passionately in such a situation. Obviously. For her, I should just be an insignificant little character, and not worthy of her attention at all. But now, I believe she will always remember me. I was both distressed and moved. I couldn't help but bite her lip a little hard. Jane gently let out a sound and then said stupidly. I like this. I said. And I like everything about you. Go. I won't let them catch up with you. I pushed Jane. With a splash, she fell into the water. Felix heard the noise and hurriedly shouted. That bitch jumped into the river. Hurry up and doctor down to block her. I sneered coldly. I picked up 2 pieces of broken glass. Enduring the pain in my leg, I ran towards Felix and them with all my strength. Just when I was about to fall off the building, I jumped. Originally, I couldn't jump this distance. But now I am jumping from top to bottom, increasing my jumping distance. I landed on the ground. The pain in my leg almost made me kneel down. But I still held my body steady and said coldly. That woman is under my protection. Felix cursed angrily. Kill him. I shrieked and immediately pounced on me. It was so dark that they didn't see that I was still holding glass in my hand. When he punched me, I let his fist hit my chest. Then, holding the glass, I stabbed it violently into his abdomen. The hooligan let out a painful scream. His body arched up like a shrimp, and I tightly held the glass, letting the glass pierce my palm. I stabbed him several times in a row. Finally, he fell softly to the ground. Felix and Axel were both stunned when they saw this scene. Felix said blankly, Are you crazy? You actually killed someone. I said, You threw so many wine bottles at me. My behavior now is considered self-defense. I have been a lawyer for so long. Don't I understand even that little bit of law? Felix. Since you want to be a barbarian, I will accompany you. I walked towards him with the glass. After all, he was a rich and cowardly person who didn't dare to risk his life. He said stupidly, You are really crazy. At the moment I entered this law firm and discovered your crimes, I was already crazy. This is not my dream since I was young. I watched you use the law to be dirty people. You are so despicable but use the law to wash yourselves clean. I am not a lawyer to protect people like you. The birth of the law is not to be your umbrella either. Axel clenched the short knife. He gritted his teeth and said, You wanted to help my original wife from the beginning, right? You wanted to send me to prison from the beginning so that she could take my property, right? I said, Yes. I didn't put the interests of the client first. So I can't be a qualified lawyer. Axel cursed angrily. Don't try to scare me with 2 pieces of broken glass. When I came out and fought with my fists, you didn't know where you were yet. I looked at his shiny short knife. Instead of dodging, I took the initiative and pounced on him. At first, Axel wanted to scare me. He brandished the short knife in front of me. But my initiative caught him off guard. Taking advantage of his feint, I pounced over, letting the short knife stab into my thigh. Then I stabbed both pieces of glass into his waist together. Axel let out a pig-killing scream in pain. He hurriedly wanted to pull out the knife. But I was already tightly holding the glass fragments and stabbed him several times in his waist and inside. Suddenly, his body became weak. He spat out a mouthful of blood and said softly, "You crazy person. All for a married woman." Yes. So I am not only not a qualified lawyer but also not a qualified man. Axel fell softly to the ground. And I was also so tired that I knelt down. Excessive blood loss made me lose the strength to resist further. Felix and his few subordinates all looked pale. I forced a smile and said, "As an unqualified lawyer, I will give you one more suggestion. This matter can't be covered up anymore. Instead of committing more serious crimes, it's better to turn yourself in quickly. Send me to the hospital and get lenient treatment. The choice is in your hands. Lawyers should respect the will of the client." I said this last sentence with difficulty. Then my vision became darker and darker. Finally, unable to resist the weakness, I fell softly. When I woke up groggily, I found myself on a hospital bed in the corridor. Jane was sleeping beside me. After feeling me move, "You woke up? How are you feeling?" I said. "I survived?" She grabbed my hand and said, "Yes. You survived. 2 people didn't dare to continue. They called the police and sent you to the hospital." I said, "This plot isn't right. Shouldn't I be lying in a hospital ward?" Jane said, "You just lost too much blood. The wound has been treated. The doctor said that the wards are very tight. So they pushed you out and put you in the corridor." I said, "That plot isn't right either." Jane, "You are so rich. Shouldn't you apply for a single room for me?" Jane said, "You are in a tertiary hospital. Do you still want to go to a private hospital? Moreover, tertiary hospitals can use medical insurance. Have you read too many CEO novels? Why send you to a private hospital when there is a reimbursable tertiary hospital?" I thought about it and felt relieved and said, "Still, Jane is good at living." Jane reached out and gently touched my hair. She said softly, "If you still feel uncomfortable, sleep for a while. The doctor said that you are fine. You can be discharged from the hospital after a while." I stared blankly at Jane's face and said softly, "You are so beautiful." Jane blushed. She bit her lip and said softly, "Really, won't you mind that I am divorced? You are unmarried." I said, "Really, won't you mind that I only have 30,000 yuan in my card? You have more than 20 million. She shook her head and said, "That beast was caught by the police. I will have more than 20 million in the future." I said softly, "Whether you are rich or not, you are equally beautiful in my eyes." When I said this sentence, both Jane and I were stunned. She asked curiously, "Is the effect of the truth serum over?" I said, "It seems so. I just lied subconsciously just now. In fact, I especially love the advantage that you are rich." Jane chuckled. She suddenly lowered her head and gently kissed me. My heart suddenly started pounding wildly. This was the first time Jane took the initiative to kiss me. She said playfully, "You said you don't mind my being divorced. Then I certainly won't mind you either. Get well soon. You have done a great job protecting me this time. After you are discharged from the hospital, I will give you my Porsche." I said excitedly, "Can you sit in the passenger seat in a short skirt later, and let me take a picture of the steering wheel of the Porsche and your long legs and show off on moments?" "Yes. Can I hug your waist and let you kiss my face and take a picture and show off on moments later?" "Also yes." I couldn't help but kiss Jane's face again. Happily. I said, "Am I too happy?" She said softly, "Do you think you are very happy just like this?" I nodded repeatedly. She stroked my face and said softly, "If we really get married, I will buy Uel and Rover later. I didn't have much company before. In the future, I want someone to be with me often. Can you do it?" I said softly, "I have to go to work. If I can turn a salary, I will feel inferior in front of you. It doesn't matter. I can make you a partner of my law firm. Then you can be more free. At least you don't have to punch in at work. Then I will definitely accompany you well in the future. Jane put her head on my chest and said softly. I heard that people's hearts beat faster when they lie. All I can give you is so much. Do you really not mind? I really don't mind. She said playfully. Your heart is beating faster. That's the heartbeat of being moved. After I was discharged from the hospital, the police did not prosecute me because they thought I was acting in self-defense. Axel was not so lucky. He lay in the ICU ward of the hospital for many days. After being transferred to another hospital, he was immediately monitored and then sentenced. And our Felix. After he went in, the employees of the law firm expressed their loyalty to Jane one after another. In the spirit of actively reporting, they sent Felix to prison. My Lucia came to me again to get back together. She admitted her mistake to me. She told me that she and that partner of the law firm were just having a moment of heat. She would stay by my side well in the future. I ignored Lucia. So she threatened me by jumping off a building. This time I still ignored her. She didn't jump later. Lucia was anxious. She threatened me again by taking sleeping pills. I still didn't pay attention. I just called the police and had her arrested. But after the police arrested her, they found out that her sleeping pills were fake. It was fake flour. Under the police's interrogation, Lucia finally admitted that the ones she took last time were also flour. She used suicide and my kindness to firmly bind me by her side all the time. From that moment on, no matter what she said, I would never believe her again. When my injury was completely healed and I could walk on the ground, I drove my Porsche to the law firm. At the entrance of the law firm, there was a brand new, then Rover parked. Jane was still so hot. She leaned beside the Land Rover and looked at me with a smile. When I came to her side, she said gently, as the first day of work as a partner, "Are you ready?" I quickly said, "I'm ready, Jane." She was a little unhappy. "I bought you a Land Rover. Are you still calling me Jane?" I chuckled. I put my arm around her waist. I gave her a deep kiss on the lips and said softly, "I'm ready, wife."